no man's land, a harsh realm for those who dare to enter. An unforgiving straight where only the flat-footed survive. Last week it was Corey Snyder and Toxic who traversed the low ground the quickest, narrowly defeating Zane Ratu and Stinger Unleashed. This week, a new Renegade enters the competition, and this Giant's calling card is the Sound of Thunder. Can this legend play spoiler to the Renegade Elite? Find out as the Renegade Monster Truck Tour is coming your way next.
Stop number 2, the Renegade Monster Truck Tour, coming at you from Selinsgrove Speedway in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. These grandstands are packed, sold out show, full of fans from all around the Keystone State who have been clamoring to see these Giants live and in person. These fans have been packing this place. The parking lot is full. The lines are long. People wanting to get up close and personal with their favorite trucks. Check out the Renegade Rec Pit over in the track party, as well as the Kids Fun Zone. If you have a chance, you got to bring the family out to see this action live. Now, we've got 5 monster trucks coming at you this weekend, as well as a big field of tough trucks we'll tell you about in a minute. But first, let's check out our field of trucks. And that field will start with Lindsay Ratu, the better half of the Ratu Motorsports Camp out of Dover, Delaware, driving the 96 Ford. Pretty wicked. She had an awesome showing last week in freestyle. Then, the rookie, Joe Lockhart in Barely Tame. Joe out of Oil City, Pennsylvania, got his first taste of monster truck competition last week. Did not do too bad. We'll see if he can live up to last week's performance, maybe do better this week here at Selinsgrove. Then Cliff Fowle, the newcomer to the Renegade Tour, only a few shows under his belt at the wheel of the legendary Virginia Giant. Cliff out of Fairfax, Virginia, with a ton of horsepower for the straight line racing course. We'll see how he does in freestyle and best trick coming up. Then Corey Snyder in Toxic, the second generation driver out of Bethesda, Maryland. He and his father fielding this awesome machine. He won racing and freestyle last week in Greensburg. He'd love to sweep the whole competition, but there's one guy in this field who might have something to say about that. Zane Ratu out of Dover, Delaware in Stinger Unleashed, coming back home to Pennsylvania. That's where he's originally from. He would like to sweep this competition. He was your best trick champ week 1 back in Greensburg. He wanted that freestyle victory, but Corey Snyder snuck it away from him. We'll see if Zane can pick up another win here this week as we get best trick underway. There you see the extra grandstands. We've even got fans down there. Most of those are families of tough truck drivers. We have a ton of those, as we told you. We will get to those trucks in a moment. First up in best trick, though, Joe Lockhart out of Oil City, Pennsylvania, driving the 96 Ford body Barely Tame Patrick chassis machine. We'll see what he starts off with here in best trick. Trying to get a donut going, kicking up the dust. Maybe to call the water truck back down here in just a moment, but a nice effort for him. Again, experience will end up paying off here, and you can tell he needs a little bit more seat time, but not bad, showing his daring as he tries to donut between the narrow walls on the front straightaway here at Selinsgrove. Now, headed for the backside of the racing lane, Joe setting up Barely Tame for another move. He wants to hear this crowd as he gets them pumped up. We'll see if he can put this thing vertical on top of the crush car. Back and way up in Barely Tame. What does Joe Lockhart have as he tries to set the bar? Hard on the nose. He hit the brakes in the air. That is inexperience right there, but he will learn from that mistake. I guarantee you he's going to get an earful when he gets back to the pit. Now, take a look at that donut from the front wall here at Selinsgrove, and you can see how close he got to it, but still did not hit anything. That is, to his credit, not a bad start. Got a little bit wild right here. Don't think he was going for a two-wheel move. My guess is he braced himself in the cab and accidentally got on that brake pedal for a score of 17. Not bad, given all things being equal. Up next, Lindsay Ratu. Pretty wicked out of Dover, Delaware. She started our best trick competition off last week and did an awesome job. Set the bar very, very high. She is always a tough one in these competitions. Let's see what she's got for the crowd here at Selinsgrove. A little bit tricky with the camber to that front stretch. Getting over by the wall. They shut her down. That's only temporary. They'll let her refire and get back underway. So she's got one move in the bag. Not bad. Trying to match Joe a little bit. Getting a little bit wild in between the rails here. And as I was saying, there's a camber to this track. It is a banked oval, and that's what's causing them to kind of drift. When they get into these donuts, they're kind of sliding down near the pit wall. Lindsay Ratu now heads the backside of that race lane. A nice hit for her right there. Lindsay Ratu and Pretty Wicked. That may take over here in the best trick competition. And she hits a hand from the crowd. Another look at this donut. You'll see she started at the bottom, I think, kind of hoping it would drift up, and it did. I think it drifted further than she wanted it to. She got over by that outer wall real quick. Got on the brakes, never hit the wall, but they shut her down just to be safe, not do any property damage. And then this second hit a real nice sky wheelie off the back of this race ramp. Getting the front end up nice and high. I think she wanted a little bit more out of it, but she will indeed take the #1 spot with a 19. 2 points on Joe Lockhart right there as Cliff Fowl and the legendary Virginia Giant rolls out of Fairfax, Virginia. Showing off the power in that big heavy, the Old Dominion. See what Cliff has. He right into the lower rail. They have shut him down. Now, it's just talking about how nobody's gotten into those rails yet, kind of keeping it in between the lines. Cliff was unable to do so. I'm not sure if he was just trying to whip that corner or throw it into a donut, but he slid down again very quick. Not a whole lot of room here, and he crossed that track in a hurry. And if you ever wonder why we don't let people stand down trackside, he just split some very hardy Keystone State timber right there when he slammed to that wall. Score of 15. Kind of a short-lived run there for Cliff Fowl, although he did get it started off in wild fashion as Zane Ratu and Stinger Unleashed rolls out of Dover, Delaware, in the Richard Midget-powered Ford Raptor body machine. We're having the Cohen chassis underneath of this one. As he heads down toward this popper ramp, you know he's going to start these best trick competitions off with some two-wheel skills moves. Gets the popper. Going for the moonwalk. Oh, balancing act there from Zane Ratu. Now he's already raised that bar. Just needs to follow that one up, and he will easily take the lead here with Stinger Unleashed. Whipping up a dust storm with the Cyclones as he stops it down by the lower wall. He found a sweet spot right there on the track. Got that thing in the spin cycle, and he needs to because the man coming up behind him is capable of the same thing, but Zane Ratu has him one-upped, I think, with those two-wheel moves. He's really the only one in the field who's got that down pat. As far as balancing it on the nose, it looks like he's going to throw maybe an extra move in here. Now, they're not going to count this. The scores are already in, but he'll do it for the fans. Now he got the moonwalk he was looking for. Zane Ratu and Stinger Unleashed, I can guarantee you, will take over the lead. Here's a look at the stoppie he did that will be counted toward his best trick score, and it was a good one. In and out of the throttle, maybe a little more than he wanted to, but 26 will definitely take over the #1 spot. See if he can go 2 weeks straight taking over the best trick competition as Corey Snyder rolls out of Bethesda, Maryland, driving the Ford Toxic Richard Midget horsepower machine. Patrick chassis underneath of this one. We will see. Can Corey take down Zane? It's going to be a tall order after the run we just saw. Snyder now Now headed over to the back of this racing lane to pick on some fresh iron. Big sky wheelie to start things off for Corey Snyder. Stalking his way down the front stretch of the Selinsgrove Speedway. Let's see what Corey Snyder has in store for his second hit now. Just getting down the track, you got to motor over some of those tough truck ramps. Those hits will not be counted as Corey rolls on up to the popper ramp. Trying to one-up Zane Ritu, not going to do it with that now. Shifts gears, little reverse two-wheel move right there. I don't think that's going to be enough to take over, but it was an impressive run for the gentleman out of Bethesda, Maryland. The O-line state driver laying it down right here. It will be Zane Ritu and Stinger Unleashed taking the #1 spot on the best trick competition with a 26, 2 points on Corey Snyder and Toxic. Then it's Lindsay Ritu third, Joe Lockhart barely tamed fourth, and Cliff Howell with those problems getting into the wall in fifth. Zane Ritu is trackside with Matt Isbell.
It just never get tired to see what you do, man. Congratulations on the win, especially look at this crowd, sold out, man.
You know what, Pennsylvania, you guys are the reason that my family has been able to race Stinger Unleashed to one of the top independent teams. You guys have supported us for, I don't know, the last 10 years, and every time we get to compete in front of pretty much hometown, we know so many of you. Thank you for coming out every year. I would love to make the Selinsgrove Speedway a stop every single summer. But you know what, win, lose, or draw, I don't care about winning. I care about doing one thing, and for all of you new monster truck fans that came to this show tonight, not knowing what to expect, and not knowing who Stinger Unleashed is, I want to make sure by the time that truck is shoveled into the trailer at the end of the night, I'm the one you remember when you're on your way home.
Congratulations. Give it up for Zane Ritu and
Zane Ritu getting a hand from the crowd. I think he was a little out of breath, running all the way down from the pits to the announcer tower. Now, I said we had a big field of tough trucks. We're going to have to highlight these runs for you because we got to go through them rapid fire to get all 21 of these trucks in. Here's our buddy Chris Wolf out of Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. Every time we talk to him, he says he doesn't really worry about winning. He just wants to make the highlight reel, and he doesn't ever seem to disappoint. Chris, of course, trying to make it into the top 10. You have to be one of the top 10 to get into round 2. It is the fastest 10 trucks out of round 1 who will get to compete for the Fast 5 final round. And Chris Wolf not able to get into the Fast 5, but he does indeed make the highlight reel. Wild rod across the finish at a 27.68. Then Gary Green out of Fawn Grove, Pennsylvania, #2 out of the gate. This guy is always fast. We expected to see him in Greensburg. He did not make that event. He was there, however, just not with his truck. Makes a good run here in round #1, and it would be enough to get him in to round #2 as he heads down the final home stretch. It's sort of a tadpole-shaped track. Run down the 2 jumps with a 26.71, good enough to get him into the second round. Here's our buddy Charles Wagner, different vehicle than we saw him in last week. Now he's got the CJ out here, a lot of horsepower, but he had some trouble getting it out of the corner and back down the final straight. He would not make it into the second round. In fact, he fell dead last out of this first round at a 30.06 second run. Here's Brad Schaub Jr. out of Dover, Pennsylvania, trying to make the field in this wild-looking Bronco, too. These things are a blast to watch. Sometimes they get a little bit nose happy. They have a tendency to wheelie, but he seemed to have his suspension tuned. However, #5 machine would not be fast enough to make it in to the second round of Tough Truck Racing. A good pass for him, though, but you can see he was slowing down on the way back home. Fastest Amishman in the Keystone State, Zach Leapart. This guy has been a champion on a tough truck track before. He is always quick and always fearless. That Jeep has been upside down a couple of times, and they were not slow rollovers. As Zach heads back down the home stretch, he would lay down a 24.45 elapsed time to get himself into round #2. Josh Funk, another wild man out of Keystone State, out of Lancaster, #8 in the field, and losing the number placard off the side, or it may just be plastered up against the window net there. We'll envision a little bit as he gets down near the pit wall. Very, very aggressive pass back down the home stretch at a 24:53 to get into the second round of competition. Now, Alan Wise out of Manchester, Pennsylvania, driving a Chevy S10 Jungle Gym. He would run a 28:29. That's the time he ran right there. Now we're putting it up now because that was not the most important part of this run. There you see he kind of gets into the wall right there. Not a real hard hit. But watch the finish line charge. This was the wildest ride in the first round. Trips it up, breaks the front steering over on the nose, and still kept it out of the wall. And the van stack as he threads the needle. You can see the steering broke right there. Both tires pointed in, coming across the finish line, nose down, and with all that, it wasn't fast enough. Now here's his teammate, also out of Manchester, Steve Shipley in the Wiley Racing Chevy Blazer. Had a decent run going, but he had some trouble on the way back. He rounds the corner there in the cul-de-sac, coming back down Main Street right here, and had to get on the brakes. Little issue keeping the truck straight. The Blazer for Shipley also nosing over on the finish line. Not the problems Alan Wise had got in the van stack there a little bit at the end at a 28:52. Now Corey Pappas, your winner from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, back in the field this week looking to take win number 2 here at week number 2. Number 12 in the field, getting a little wide down in the cul-de-sac as he gets back down the straight stretch to head home, and Corey Pappas would lay down a solid run at a 24:57, an aggressive pass across that finish line, but I guarantee you these guys still have a ton of speed left in them. Josh Johnson, one of our finalists from last week in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, out of Lancaster. This guy is always super fast, probably one of the best looking, most colorful machines in the Team Green camp. But this thing is also a rocket, getting down there by the wall. Straight shot, though, across the returning jump as he heads over the final 2. Josh Johnson with a 25:99 elapsed time to get him into round number 2. The red, white, and blue machine would come out next. Kevin Leby out of Berwick, Pennsylvania, and the machine he calls bent and broken, but the way it jumps and lands, I don't know that the name exactly fits. Got that big Nerf bar on the front end. He's not worried about getting into the wall down here at all. You can see charges right into it. But again, watch how flat this thing jumps on the way home. That is a good handle and tough track, and he still gets into the fan stack. And is scrubbing off the right-hand side there. Another vehicle out of Berwick, Pennsylvania. This is Brad Mertz and Buck Naked. Another red, white, and blue Jeep. This one, the Grand Cherokee. And it looks like it's been upside down once or twice. It's kind of bent and broken. In fact, I believe that the name of the previous vehicle might fit this one a little bit better, but he made a solid run. The underside of this truck looks really, really well built. Way over on the nose at a 24:66 elapsed time. That would get him into the second round. And now, one of the fastest, most well-rounded tough truckers in the country, Leon Hostetter. He would use the popper ramp to round that corner. It's still legal. He still made the turn, didn't cut the corner, and then makes a very, very impressive quick pass back down the front stretch at a 22:50, and he knew he was going to have to go quick. We'll tell you in just a moment why, because he had Jeff Eschman coming up in a few passes. Jay Fry now out of Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. This vehicle did not seem long for this event. Bouncing around, and the truck sounds a little bit worn out, but he still made a solid pass on the way down. Very, very wide turn, though, would end up hurting his elapsed time. He would lay down a 29:74, I believe. He works his way back down the home stretch. A little bit of a slowdown right there would end up hurting his time a lot. Again, yes, 29:74, but a wild pass across the finish line. Not a bad run for Jay Fry. Now, I talked about this guy, Jeff Eschelman, out of Willow Street, Pennsylvania. One of the most aggressive tough truckers in the Keystone State in this black and green Ford Explorer. And watch Eschelman's finish line charge. Never lifts it, way over on the nose. Had to check up a little bit right there. Did a good job avoiding that obstacle. 22:52, 2/100ths of a second slower than the man who ended up number 1. That was Leon Hostetter. Now, here comes Bryce Thacker out of Smithfield. Virginia, the Old Dominion driver, the Bronco 2. He made a good pass, good enough to get him into the second round of competition, and that thing lands pretty well. 27.01 for Thacker, good enough for the second round of competition. Brandon Barnes, another one, very, very aggressive Keystone State tough truck racer out of Tawana, Pennsylvania, and the Killer Clown. We all float. It says on the back, this guy, one of the toughest in the Northeast. You can see he actually smushed the fenders up in there trying to keep the wheels from rubbing on him. I've seen this guy drive the wheels off this truck. Unfortunately, this time around, as good as this pass was, it would not get him in to the second round, into the top 10. But a good run nonetheless. Hey, we've got Monster Truck Racing in round number 2 of Tough Trucks coming at you with the Renegade Monster Truck Tour. The Renegade Monster Truck Tour is brought to you by Wayne's Towing and Recovery. Anytime, day or night, we're here to help when you need it. And by 717 Wraps and Graphics, dedicated to providing you with a one-of-a-kind experience. 717 Wraps, Lancaster's premier vinyl wrap and graphic service.
Remember being a little kid, playing in the sandbox with your toy truck? Dreaming of the day you could pilot a real 1,500 horsepower monster truck? Well, now you can. DriveRealMonsterTrucks.com, located just outside of Dover, Delaware, offers a state-of-the-art training facility on a huge outside track, which allows you, the fan, to get strapped into one of the very monster trucks you are watching perform today. DriveRealMonsterTrucks.com puts you in a once-in-a-lifetime experience with a professional monster truck driver who will coach you through your day of practicing competitive race passes, wheelies, jumping, throttle rhythm, and end your day competing in your very own 90 seconds no rules freestyle, all while on-site safety officials and Renegade technicians stand by to ensure your day is safe and the truck stays operating at the highest level possible. No strings attached. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience for you to pilot a full state-of-the-art monster truck. All experiences are recorded on video, both from the ground and also on board, so you can continue to remember your driving debut for years to come. Schedule your day of insane fun now at DriveRealMonsterTrucks.com and on Facebook at Drive Real Monster Trucks.
The Renegade Monster Truck Tour is brought to you by J&K Salvage, York County's premier metal recycler. J&K Salvage has got it all under control. And by ATI Performance Products, driving technology to the finish line. Back at the Selinsgrove Speedway in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, week number 2, stop number 2 of the Renegade Monster Truck Tour, cutting it loose here in front of a packed house at the Selinsgrove Speedway. I wanted to take a look before we get into monster truck racing at CJ 2. Start of the Wayne's Towing and Recovery mini monster trucks and the Stinger Unleashed Mini getting after it. Very, very aggressive young driver. Cannot wait to see this guy behind the wheel of one of the 12,000-pound racing giants. Trying for some two-wheel moves right there. That Patriot chassis, it's got the extended cradle on it. Not afraid of it as he cut loose with the donuts. Wrapping up the mini monster. Best trick, he would take the overall there as Cliff Vowell and Virginia Giant rolls out for the first race of round number 1. He will take on his former teammate, actually, Corey Snyder. Driving Toxic. Both of these trucks at one time were owned by Chris Gilbert out of Fairfax, Virginia. Now the Virginia Giant, the lone truck on that team, as the Snyders purchased the Toxic monster truck and namesake, have been doing it justice ever since. But Cliff is going to be one tough opponent. Corey Snyder knows what he's going to get out of him. This should be a good first round race. We will see what these two have to offer each other as they work that starting line, each one trying to psych the other out. Cliff in the high lane, maybe at a disadvantage here, but Corey Snyder still has some camber to deal with. This track, unlike some of the other banked ovals, actually doesn't have a flat lower end. There is a wall there before the track gets flat. You can see that keeps this track banked all the way to the bottom side. So, who will have the advantage as we get ready to go with pairing 1, round 1. They wait on green. Snyder a little out of shape. The lead to Cliff now. They come across the finish line in tandem. Who won that one? We're waiting on the call right now. We have still not gotten word who won that race. The officials are looking back at the video. Matt Isbell, the track announcer, is waiting on the... He's waiting on the call. We're trying to listen in to see who actually crossed the finish line first. We're going to take another look at it while they look. And you'll see they took off together, maybe a little edge to Snyder, but Snyder got out of shape in no man's land, and it's a long no man's land. So he had time to correct, but he also had time to lose. Cliff Vowell starting to check out on him. Man, they're right there together, but Corey Snyder by 1/100th of a second. They're saying it was the front rubber, the front tires, got him there first. You can see Cliff had a little bit of the front bumper body kind of overhang there, but Snyder's front tires, I mean, it had to be just maybe the aspect of the tire right there, if that, just that leading edge of rubber. I don't think it could have been much more than that. He beat him by maybe a foot. Man, what a way to start off racing here in round number 1. So we line up 2 96 Fords on the starting line. Lindsay Ratu in the low lane, the left lane taking on Joe Lockhart in the high lane. Pretty wicked against Barely Tame. Second race of round 1 underway. Big problems for Lindsay. A little bit sideways at the finish there for Joe, but not a bad race at all. 7:21 to Lindsay Ratu's 9:03. So definitive victory there for Joe Lockhart as they roll off the track. We get ready for round number 2 of tough truck competition. We're going to jump right into it. We still have a bunch of trucks left in the field. 10 of them. Bryce Thacker now out of Smithfield, Virginia, driving the Bronco 2, no rear cap on this thing as he heads down toward the cul-de-sac. We'll see if he can improve upon his time. Remember, the first round times do not matter. You have to now set a new time as he bounces around coming out of the corner there. Getting after a real aggressive run for Thacker. Solid run across the finish line. He'll set the stage at a 28:42. Be interested to see if that holds because we got a lot of fast vehicles coming in behind him. It was not a bad run. Now, it's yet to be seen if that corner down there is going away now that we've run some monster trucks over to maybe slicker down there as Gary Green takes off. This guy always tends to be fast in the corner, and he's good, maybe a little wide right there. Gets down into the... Headed back down the home stretch. A very aggressive finish line pass at a 23:10. Gary Green, a full 5 seconds and change faster than Bryce Thacker. A good run for that machine. Up next, Bent and Broken. This is that truck that I said jumped and landed so flat. Kevin Levy out of Berwick, Pennsylvania, getting ready to take the green. Let's see what he's got here in round number 2. Nose high on that jump. Slowing it down for the corner. Got in a little tighter that time. Now he's got to make an aggressive run back up. Try to stay in the number 1 spot. Get into the fast 5. Can he do it? Beautiful launch across the finish line at a 25:13. Kevin Levy put himself into second place for the moment as Josh Johnson rolls out in the Team Green machine out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He takes green. A little hesitant on the start there. Hard landing, and I think that starting line launch may end up hurting him. He gave away an awful lot of time before he took off. Now wide in the corner. Had to cut back. This is not the run he was looking for. Little trouble in that one. It wasn't a bad run, but he did have a few bottles of 25.57. That may hurt him. We'll see if he can last the rest of the group as another vehicle out of Berwick, Pennsylvania rolls out. This is Brad Mertz and Buck Naked. Again, man, this thing looks like it's rolled over a couple times, but it is a solid truck underneath. I think the tires are probably the nicest thing on it. Brad Mertz, number 15 in the field, making his way through the cul-de-sac. Back down the home stretch toward the finish line. Very aggressive pass he is going here. .24.76 for Brad Mertz. Not bad at all. Get him up in the top of the field for the moment. As Corey Pappas, last week's winner from Greensburg, rolls out. He's out of Fawn Grove, Pennsylvania, home of the Disorder at the Border Championship. Be great to see that competition come back one day. In the meantime, here he is in front of the crowd in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, laying down a shot. Round number 2 as he heads into the cul-de-sac. See how he makes that corner, maybe a little wide right there into the wall. Took it to the rear hatch. It lightened him up as he makes a real aggressive pass across the finish line, speeding it up to a 23.12. Corey Pappas looking good as we take another look at some damage he inflicted. Not quite the weight and torque of the Virginia Giant. He didn't take the timber off the back of it as Josh Funk comes down the front stretch, headed toward the cul-de-sac right now. This guy could definitely get into the Fast Five. He hit the wall too. He's not worried about it. He just took the front fender off. Shaving some weight at a 22.98. Getting up in that 22 range. It's Corey Pappas with that 23.12. Speeding things up a little bit. Who will be in the Fast Five? Zach Leapart rolling in. These guys are speeding up a ton. In fact, we're hearing they're crossing that finish line at around 50 to 52 miles an hour. Little bobble in the corner. Liebart's going to have to live up to that nickname right now. Going to be the fastest Amishman tonight. Oh, yeah, aggressive pass across the finish line, sliding up the top of the track at a 22.53. Wow. Laying it down right there. That's the new fast time for the moment as Jeff Eshelman rolls out of Willow Street, Pennsylvania in the Ford Explorer, green and black, ready to go. And this guy, he wasn't the fastest. He was off by 0.02 of a second in round 1, but he was definitely the most aggressive. Showing that here. Let's see if he can keep it out of the wall, though. Beautiful corner, maybe a little bit wide. How can he get back home? Up on the rev limiter. Watch the top end charge over on the nose at a 22.47. Way up by the wall, but he just sped things up a ton. New fast time right there for Jeff Eshelman as Leon Hostetter takes the starting line and waits on green. Daniel Clark inching him up right now as the fans wait to see if Hostetter can take over the top spot. Man sitting on the bump right now is Corey Pappas. He does not want to see Leon go faster than a 23.12. Into the cul-de-sac, on the brakes, over that roller, a solid corner, headed for home. Blasting the finish line at a 21.93. He has knocked off Pappas. Not only that, he takes the number 1 spot. And here are your Fast Five. Leon Hostetter at a 21.93. Jeff Eshelman trying to get up in there with him at a 22.47. Zach Leapart in third with the 22.53. Josh Funk looking good. And then Gary Green at a 23.10. You can see the times actually get real close in there. Leon Hostetter actually on the most extreme end of the average at a 21.93. That's pretty good, the fast time. on this track. Now we get back to Monster Truck Racing. Our third place race going into the final round will be Virginia Giant. Cliff Fowl out of Fairfax, Virginia, with that big Hemi horsepower in the back of that thing, taking on Pretty Wicked Lindsay Ritu out of Dover, Delaware. The Richard Midget horsepower inside of that 96 Ford bodied machine with the Patrick chassis. Both of these machines, two different generations of Patrick chassis you're looking at right here. The advantage might actually go to the older chassis underneath the Virginia Giant. We'll see as these two wait on green. Lindsay giving Cliff a run, but it will be Virginia Giant across the finish line. First look out. Lindsay Ritu sideways in the end zone. Good job keeping it out of the side of the Virginia Giant right there. Not the way she wanted to do that. As we take a look at the end zone replay. And Cliff Fowl, he got up by the wall a little bit here. Not a straight run for either one of them. Lindsay had to correct herself, and when she hit the ground there at the finish line, it started to come around on her. The Cliff, with the hole shot, a little bit of smoke out of the motor. Huffing and puffing as he struts his stuff across the finish line, and then this wild finish line landing for Lindsay Ritu as she slides sideways through the end zone, almost getting into the Virginia Giant, but she was able to get it woed as our championship pairing comes up to stage. Corey Snyder and Toxic out of Bethesda, Maryland, taking on the home state hero Joe Lockhart out of Oil City, Pennsylvania, in Barely Tame. Daniel Clark getting that machine up to the line, the 96 Ford with the Richard Midget horsepower, taking on the Ford Super Duty out of Maryland with the Richard Midget horsepower. Truck should be pretty evenly matched in the motor department. Who can outdrive the other? It's Lockhart and Snyder in the finals. Lockhart with the jump. Snyder gonna have to run him down. Lockhart in a little bit of trouble, and Toxic will take the victory here in Selinsgrove. And look at the time, a 6:28, fastest time of the night. Corey Snyder, your racing champion for the second straight week in Toxic, will bring it back down the front stretch in front of the main grandstands. A solid final round race, and Joe really had something for him there. Washed out on him at the end, it looked like Corey. Not worried about that right now. Kicking up the dust, celebrating the victory here on the front stretch of the Selinsgrove Speedway. Another look at it now from the end zone, and Joe got the jump on him in the right lane. You can see he was leading him down the stretch there, but he started to get to the right too far, had to correct. He backed out of it, and that let Corey go by. But Joe Lockhart, almost on his second week of competition, upset the guy who took the racing championship last week in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And you can see he got Corey out of the hole. Right here, the truck starts to wash toward the wall. He let out of it, corrected. Believe me, it was a better move to make than to get over there by that catch fence. Wad that truck up. Corey Snyder now down trackside with Matt Isbell.
Kind of have to play your games and tackle this racing course because it's so narrow. You just got to stay on the straight and make sure you kind of get a view there. So it's a little bit more technical than you think, but at the end of the day, it's going to cross the finish line and get with my neighborhood. Now I got to ask you, that first round matchup against the Virginia Giant, did you know it was that close of race that we had to go to the replay and actually watch it a few times because it was that close between the Virginia Giant? I definitely saw him in the corner of my eye. I was just like, all right, Cliff is up here to step his game up today. This is his first appearance on the Renegade Tour, and he's definitely out there to go out and put on a good show. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, okay, I got to put it all the way to the ground. That's what I did. It kind of caught myself off guard, but he's a great racer. All these guys are, all these Renegades are. So we got Freestyle coming up next. Get ready. It's going to be great.
Coming up next is Freestyle. Give it up for Corey Snyder.
Corey Snyder, your racing champion for the second straight week here on the Renegade Monster Truck Tour. Hey, the Fast 5 Tough Trucks and Freestyle are on the way. It is gonna get wild. Stay with us. Renegade Monster Truck Tour coming at you week number 2 from here at Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania at the Selinsgrove Speedway. It is time for the Fast 5 in tough truck racing. Leon Hostetter head and shoulders above the rest of the field on a round number 2 at that 21.93. Then it was Jeff Eshelman, Zach Liebhart, and Josh Funk in the 22-second range. Gary Green on the top end of that 23-second range to get him in to the Fast 5. But all of those times get thrown out for this third and final round of the night. The Fast 5 going to have to lay down new times, and Gary Green is going to try to set an impossible bar to jump over, and he's a man who could do it as he comes very aggressively down the first stretch headed toward the cul-de-sac. Beautiful corner for Green as he whips it around and heads back down the final straight. Crossing the finish line with a ton of speed, a little out of shape in the shutdown area, but no problem for him as he lays down a 22.05. Made life very difficult on everyone behind him, including this guy, Josh Funk, out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in a former Team Green machine. They know this thing has horsepower and plenty of gear to get him down there quick. Let's see what Josh Funk can do. Beautiful corner himself, keeps it out of the wall this time as he heads for home. Lost a taillight right there and a wild finish for Josh Funk, a little bit sideways as he slides to a stop at a 22.13, just off the pace. But he was right there with Gary Green. Not enough, though, to take the win. Green still leads as the fastest Amishman in the Keystone State rolls to the starting line. That is Zach Liebhart in the orange and black Jeep out of Windsor, Pennsylvania. This guy could definitely take a victory here tonight. Very, very fast coming down the first straight on the nose. Something going away in the Jeep, though, as he heads down toward the cul-de-sac, and he comes to a stop. That will be the end of any hope that he had to take the number 1 spot. Even if he crosses the finish line at this point, there's no way he's going to take the number 1 out of Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. He is moving again, so he can at least complete the run for 5th place, maybe 4th. We'll see what happens. Actually, they're waving him off the track right now, I just saw, so he will be putting that thing right back on the trailer. Very, very disappointing way to go out of competition, but he is in the money by getting into the Fast 5 final round. He gets a nice cheer from the crowd as he brings it back toward the pit area, but tough break for Zach Liebhart out of Windsor, Pennsylvania. He's always a fun one to watch. I'm not sure if it was a transmission problem or what, but he will graciously pack it up as Jeff Eshelman out of Willow Street, Pennsylvania, rolls the black and green Explorer to the line. He has been the most aggressive here this evening. Let's see if he can take the number 1 spot out of the final round. A little wide on the top end, but a good turn coming out. Watch the top end charge, a little bit out of shape. He just narrowly avoided that crush car. But what a run. 21.87 to take the number 1 spot with the new fast time. And that means Leon Hostetter better be hauling butt when he comes across that finish line. Drew number 16 for the qualifying round now. Comes into this round having been in number 1 in the previous round. This guy, I do believe, could have taken the number 1 spot out of Greensburg, but he broke in the final round. Corey Pappas won a week ago. Now, Leon has his second chance to get a tough truck victory on the Renegade Tour. Can he do it here? Nice flat jump as he heads toward the cul-de-sac, just plowed off the top of that turn, and a beautiful corner as he dirt tracks it around. A lot of speed headed for home. That's definitely going to be a good time. That is going to be a good time. Will it be enough to take the top spot? Yes, it will be a 21.50 for Leon Hostetter. It's hit the impossible and sped up. I think he crossed the finish line at well over 55 miles an hour. That was a hard-fought battle there in the Fast Five. Jeff Eshelman looking good. Gary Green and Josh Funk, all of them very, very close, and I believe Zach Liepart would have been right there with him. A tough break for him, but our congratulations to Leon Hostetter as we bring the monster trucks back to the track. The Oil City, Pennsylvania native Joe Lockhart, former dirt track racer, now back on the dirt track, but behind the wheel of a much larger, much heavier machine with a lot more horsepower. This is Barely Tame, the 96 Ford with the Richard Midget horsepower, the Patrick chassis machine out of the Ratu Motorsports camp. Joe says it's taken a little bit to get used to even being in the cab of one of these machines now. He looked good last week in freestyle. Solid. What can he do this week? It looks like he's going to open up with a hit on the van stack. And a big launch right there over hard on the left-hand side. Not wasting any time at all as he comes down the front. And another massive launch off of the popper ramp. Joe Lockhart putting on a show. I don't know if he knew that thing was going to give him that much air, but that was a solid hit. Little trouble now as he gets down over by the wall. Again, very narrow quarters here, and he's still getting used to the front and rear steering. He's doing a nice job. He's not damaging any property, so that's got to make Zane Ratu very, very happy. Right now, Joe getting the crowd on their feet to open things up in freestyle here in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. Looks like he may be setting up for a donut as he crosses the track a little bit. That will come with experience. Got to know when to lay into it. He knew when to get off of it, though. And again, I can't stress enough that he's not damaging any property as he cuts out a dusty donut. Nicely done, whipping up a dust storm here on the front stretch. Joe Lockhart doing a nice job in the Wayne's Towing and Recovery. 717 wraps Barely Tame. Needs a little more momentum, but again, everything I'm saying, that will come with experience, and it's a lot easier said than done. You can't just jump into one of these trucks and drive it. You have to get the training, the seat time, and get it to become second nature. Everything you have to do inside of these trucks. There's a lot going on in the cab. Another nice launch right there. Stayed off the brake pedal that time. And I do believe he'll wrap it up with that. Not a bad run, not quite the momentum you're going to need to win a freestyle, but he definitely set a high bar in terms of hang time. And again, whipping up the dust is always a good one. As we take a look back at the first hit off the van stack. Beautiful launch. Letting it roll out, and I'll tell you what, right there, a hard hit to the left-hand side, but the truck soaked it up. A little puff of smoke out of the motor, no problem. And again, I don't think he knew this thing was going to launch him that hard. But that was awesome for Joe Lockhart. Getting it back down on the ground. He probably felt like he was sitting up there forever. The wheel of the Barely Tame Ford, and then this awesome dusty donut on the front stretch. Setting the stage for the next man out of the pits, which will be Cliff Vowell and the Virginia Giant. Joe keeping it between the walls. Right behind him there, you can see that piece of timber that Cliff Vowell split a score of 13. Not quite what I think Joe was looking for, but not a bad run at all, considering he had to get used to driving one of these big trucks between the narrow walls here at Selinsgrove Speedway. Cliff Vowell and the Virginia Giant comes rolling out of the pit area. Big Hemi motor in the back of this Ford-bodied machine. A Patrick chassis underneath of this one as well. Going for the donut. He scrubbed that upper wall a little bit. He seems to like touching those rails, but we'll see a nice jump right there. Some big hang time for Cliff Vowell and the Virginia Giant off the racing lanes. Doing a nice job. That big Hemi motor, it's a lot of horsepower to try to woe down and get under control, but Cliff doing a nice job. Another donut up on the top end. Kicking up the dust on the far end of the track with a donut. Cliff Fowl out of Fairfax, Virginia, and the Virginia Giant, the multi-time Thunder National Champion. Legendary truck out of the Old Dominion State. A lot of smoke starting to billow out of the engine compartment. Looks like he may have a cylinder going away on the left side of that motor. Tried to get that thing tuned just right a little earlier. Those motors can be finicky. The big horsepower, again, a lot to keep under control, but he's doing a nice job in this beautiful hand-painted Virginia Giant. Getting some more hang time right there over the racing lane. Now he's got smoke coming out of both sides of that motor. It looks like he is going to shut it down. Nice job from right there. I'd say that one's about cooked, but he got all he could out of it. Nice first hit for him right there. Mostly stayed to the racing lanes. I don't think that's going to take over the #1 spot, but it was a good run. He kept the ground speed up, kept it moving. This was probably his best hit right here. Some big hang time for Cliff Fowl, the Virginia Giant, for a score of 15. Again, he's only been in the driver's seat a few times, but he lays down a good one right there to take over the lead. Now Lindsay Ratu out of Dover, Delaware, in Pretty Wicked. This is our final freestyle competitor for the evening. She gets things underway. If you're wondering why, we'll tell you in just a moment. Right now, though, Lindsay Ratu letting it all hang out as she gets some big air over there. She saw Joe do it. She knew she was going to hit that thing and try to out-jump him, but that's going to be a tall order. She spins it around on the top end of the track over in turn #1. Headed back up and over the van stack. Setting up for a donut. Lindsay Ratu ripping the topsoil off of the far end of the track as she heads back down toward the racing lanes. Nice hang time right there for the Patrick Chassis Machine. The Richard Midget horsepower going to work for her right there. And another nice hit. Getting plenty of air off those racing lanes as she almost gets into the van stack. Having to check up just a little bit. She's laying down a good run right now, though, move to move. This one has had the best momentum. A little problem right there. Looked like she stalled up in turn #4, so let's see. What does she have left? Lindsay Ratu going for it. And the motor falls down on her again right there. A little bit of smoke out of the bottom end. I do believe that's all she wrote. She may have taken over the lead, though. That was not a bad run. We're at about a minute 30 right there. It's a standard length 90-second freestyle. Was not bad. You got to get from one end of this track to the other and do it in a hurry, and she had some nice moves in between turns 1 and 4. That big air right there. She's the first one to hit this big van stack over in turn #1.
It's an 8 and 8, a total of 16.
Here you hear Matt Isbell make the announcement. She will take the victory here in freestyle with a score of 16. This was an awesome hit on the front stretch race lanes right here, and there you see it, the score, 16 for Lindsay Ratu. Solid group of freestyle runs right there. Congratulations to Lindsay Ratu. Cliff Fowl looking pretty good. They may have to do a motor swap before he comes back onto the racetrack. They've got a spare one in the trailer, though. Put a new Hemi in the back of that thing and let it roll. And Joe Lockhart cutting it loose here this weekend. Not looking bad at all, the rookie at the wheel of Barely Tame. Now, if you're wondering why we only had 3 trucks and scored freestyle, we're about to show you why. There you see the man himself, Zane Ratu. In the Wayne's Towing and Recovery 717 Wraps ATI Performance Stinger Unleashed out of Dover, Delaware. Coming out in front of the main grandstands. He's going to lay down a couple of warm-up moves. A little freestyle action for him right there. Then he heads over to the pits. A little bump to Corey Snyder, letting him know it's time to fire up Toxic and bring it out onto the track for a special tandem freestyle finale. Toxic out of Maryland, Corey Snyder in the big black and green Ford, and Zane Ratu and Stinger Unleashed freestyling at the same time to close things out. An awesome spectacle. If you want to see this whole thing, you got to get out and see it live. It is something to behold, all this horsepower unleashed on the front stretch of one of these awesome dirt tracks up here in the Keystone State. Again, our congratulations to all our winners here tonight as they wrapped up the show in awesome fashion with the fireworks. We want to thank you for joining us for this edition of the Renegade Monster Truck Tour from Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. We will see you next week.